Look what I found. Digging in my bin. Taking my leftovers. It's filthy vermin right here. Oh, look at the size of this sucker. I'm gonna be making dinner for the boys tonight, yeah? Caught it with me bare hands, I did, trying to get through my bin, my leftovers. Just look at the size of this sucker right here, yeah.
The PlayStation 2, the biggest step up in gaming that the world had ever seen, and is the main console I depended my entire gamer life on. With its expanded disc memory, improved and refined graphics, and its newly 3D player models that can actually move their mouth instead of JPEG faces telepathically telling me their feelings.
Stop! Disappointed!
This was the console that made people believe in the future of digital entertainment. Not only did it break a record, but it still is the reigning champ for most sold consoles within its lifetime. A whopping 157 million consoles was sold worldwide. It's no wonder why people tend to recognize franchises like Jak and Daxter, Kingdom Hearts, Final Fantasy, Ratchet & Clank, Pac-Man Fever, and while the gaming ecosystem had been redefined and expanded upon, so did the audience in which the console attracted. Sure, games proved to be fun for kids, but what about the adults? Where's our joy? I want cool sports games, man. I want violence. I want bikini women screensavers. And just like that, Sony switched gears, shifting focus towards mature-centric subjects and topics of interest for their new demographic. Sports games were raking in the cash more than ever with their closer to real game feel and improved quality. First-person shooters became prevalent in the space thanks to Microsoft throwing their own hat into the ring with their newborn golden goat Halo. And how could I forget the #1 most parent-hated series of all time, Grand Theft Auto, transforming the PlayStation from a kid-friendly place into a tough man guarantor of sex machine. Sony saw who they attracted and they stuck their guns out with them to prove how macho they could actually be. Although for some companies, they still wanted to make something that could be easily enjoyed by any age group. I mean, within this era of gaming for men, there were still kids and casual players alike who were still playing on this thing. Why make everything strictly adult-focused? Enter Sucker Punch Productions, just your average small team of devs that want to craft an enjoyable heist-like espionage. I mean, yeah, they could have done another espionage adult-like game, but they want to think a little bit more out the box. They want to actually take place within a 2D cartoon, a Saturday morning cartoon that you, the player, could be a part of. Toss in a main character that is your typical cool bad boy, because this is 2000s and we're edgy, like Limp Bizkit. And hell, why not make the protagonist an animal too? 90s gaming trends were still on their way out, but it worked for others, clearly. But pray tell, which animal would be sleazy yet endearing enough to fit the shoes of kid-friendly Limp Bizkit? Oh, I know. A chunky-ass raccoon.
You wanna be skunk, you stupid bastard.
Okay, so it was a rough first draft, but the artist decided to make him more agile, sleeker, cunning, charming, sly. Sly Cooper, a character and universe that is absolutely adored and beloved by so many fans all over the world, all praying for his revival after his PS2 spotlight had finally faded. If you ask me personally, I never really got the hype for Sly Cooper. I've only ever played the first game in this series, so my knowledge about Sly before this video was incredibly slim to none. I got the first game after college and I liked it, but it really just didn't do anything for me. I know better now. I know never to judge a series based off of its first project. Plus, with a channel about exploring the unknown games for many others, I decided to explore an unknown series that I didn't know myself. Starting off with his debut game from 2002, the only game that I have any bit of nostalgia for, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus. So first things first. Who is you and why is you doing what you're doing? Sly Cooper is an upcoming professional sneaky boy of this world. A sneaky boy with determined purpose. He is actually a descendant from a master clan of thieves. A clan that doesn't consist of your typical cat burglars and hamburglars. Oh, no. They steal from the top thugs all around the world. A clan that, wouldn't you know it, is made up entirely of filthy raccoons. Little known fact about Sly, he's a raccoon, so it makes sense that he would be a shoo-in for the upcoming thief role by learning to become what he has always been destined to be, a master-class robber. Consider him modern-day Robin Hood, except he doesn't give back to the poor. He keeps everything to himself. Dick move, really, but I'm not here to judge him. I'm here to judge his game. Throughout history, every member of this Raccoon clan would write down each of their special techniques and moves that they collectively discovered into this grand book of thievery known as, you guessed it, the Thieviusraccoonus. It's actually not as hard to get as you may think, because check out what I found at Barnes & Noble in the clearance section. Signed! And honestly, I can tell you, the amount of knowledge that they shove into just a couple of pages is absolutely insane. I mean, I haven't tested this out yet, but just take a listen. Apparently, you can turn on and off your PS2. For real? One night, while bouncing upon his father's knee, baby boy Sly was next in line to receive said knowledge from the family's homemade thieving for dummies book, when suddenly 5 non-raccoon criminals busted into their house seeking that same knowledge. Sly went into hiding while his father fought valiantly to protect their family legacy by utilizing all of that combined thievery knowledge to get the leg up on the attackers, the smarts that have kept the Cooper family alive and hidden for centuries. Guess he couldn't read because his dad's dead. Once this group of criminals, labeled now as the Fiendish Five, claimed victory, they scrapped off sections of the book's pages amongst themselves and buggered off into their own turf where they prepare for their next dastardly deed. Sly, on the other hand, had no choice but to live his days in an orphanage. With a newly set childhood as comforting as Batman's, Sly sets his sights on retrieving his family's stolen legacy by going after the Fiendish Five, while learning what it takes to become a master thief along his way. While all this is going down, Sly is constantly avoiding the definitely not Sly-obsessed cop and surprisingly hot Latina animal detective Carmalita Fox. Viva la raza! She is thirsty for him to be behind bars because he gave her the slip during a one-night stand or something. Yup, that's enough motivation for her. Vengeance! By his side are his 2 lifelong friends from the orphanage, Bentley, the overcautious calculator, and Murray, the drooly bulk. Together, they set out to help Sly to get back the only bit of family history he has left by stealing back the pages of stealing from a book about stealing written by stealers, no, not these stealers, stealers who actually steal and not steal Super Bowl rings from Cardinals by navigating behind steel walls with Sly's own stealing tactics, not to be confused with his family's version of stealing tactics that he doesn't know about yet. Real steal! That was pretty much a big old plot dump. And thankfully it doesn't go on too much longer or become overdone at this point, and if you ask me, it's a great starting point for the franchise, all while being told through comic book art. Good or bad, I loved how everyone's personality was presented through specified color selection and musical accompaniment. You know, for the first game in this series, Sly Cooper and the Thieviusraccoonus ain't perfect, but it is good for a first outing. Thieviusraccoonus is an action platformer with stealth-like elements thrown in to make any player feel like a natural taught thief. Get from point A to point B with creatively decorated and laid out levels that allow you to move swiftly through locations. Do so with acrobatic spins and with stealthing, I guess. Breach into each of the Fiendish Five's hideouts, steal back the stolen pages of the Thieviusraccoonus, and beat the ever-loving crap out of anyone that gets in your way. This is a pretty basic platforming game that gives you the illusion that you would be playing as Solid Snake, when you're actually Solid Raccoon. That reminds me, if you live in the UK and you try to search for this game, you'll find yourself confuzzled to notice that for whatever reason, you couldn't refer to Sly Cooper as Sly Cooper. They had to refer to him as Sly Raccoon. Could I please have the reasoning for this? Is the word Cooper a swear in the UK? Did you think the word Cooper was going to be misleading for any buyers? Do you think it would be fun playing as a cunning barrel maker? This is truly a unique world where you could traverse across many compounds ever so gracefully. Sly doesn't play like a raccoon. He's closer to an acrobatic ninja ballerina, scaling rooftops, sliding on rails, hopscotching across flaming lanterns, breaks air conditioners with his feet. This doesn't play like a developed stage. It's a flexible yet realistic playground that is made out of real-world elements. Anything feels traversable in this game. Whenever Sly moved across multiple objects, it felt like one consistent motion, moving like running water. Everything coordinates with your movements. There's almost a rhythm to this game, and to that point, one of the 5 you fight has a rhythm-based button sequence that goes along with the boss's theme song, making me more in sync with Sly than ever before. Plus, the devs added this Master Thief sprint mode, which is simply speed runs through previous platforming levels to clearly indicate that this game was meant to be taken advantage of while mastering your traversal special abilities. Although some stages are absolutely brutal with the times to beat, I mean, look at this shit. I'm literally a toenail away from the finish line, and I got shot 1 second away from victory. Thanks to that, I had no choice but to find shortcuts and how to make encounters less encounterable.
Have a nice day.
It's challenging, but admittedly, really fun to figure out. Something you may have noticed as well is that for a game all about keeping a low profile, Sly seems to favor forward assaulting victims. I suppose from one aspect, it kind of diminishes that authentic stealth experience.
But I sure don't care.
It's a playable cartoon. It's not a Splinter Cell. Although with the array of moves and techniques that you do eventually learn, it might make you feel like you're on one. Adding more to your basic move list are special moves that you read from the special pages within the Thievius Raccoonus. The pages are the main collectible to find in this game. That's right, the book actually gives you your powers. Some moves are extremely helpful, some moves make certain situations an absolute joke, some moves I don't understand, and some moves just make an absolute buffoon out of me because I don't know how to play this game, and there are no buffoons in this game except for one, and that dumb buffoon is me. But nothing is free in this world. So if you want any of these cool moves, you're actually gonna have to work your way to get them. The Fiendish 5 stole the pages. They don't intend on giving those back for just getting past their securities. Instead, they reside these moves within a safe, which requires pieces of hidden code within bottles. Achieving every bottle in that stage will grant you access into a high security vault, containing one of the many pages that you seek, granting you a brand new move and bringing Sly one step closer to completing his dentistry book of Thievius Pullus. And technically, you don't have to go for any of these pages either. It is simply for your benefit. It counts for 100% completion status, it just isn't necessary for storyline completion.
If any of you let him get his hands on that key, I'll personally flog the lot of you for an entire fortnight!
You actually get some variety in this game too. Racing rallies, twin-stick shooters, first-person escort shooters, beating cock, on-rail shooters. Come to think of it, Sucker Punch certainly loves their shooting galleries. Even if this is Sucker Punch just trying to see what they could perform for future titles, not once was the platforming stealth strayed away from. This has a lot of heart poured into it. Especially with the Carmalita chase segments, I've never felt closer to being a cunning dick who manages to escape with such ease quite like this before. With the first game in the series too, that is not something many companies pull off with ease. The stages aren't just places you get tossed into with no explanation either. These are hideouts. Whenever you start a chapter, you get dropped off right outside the compound. You're not in the hideout yet, you have to manually make your own way in, like you're actively sneaking into this place. You know, like the real bad boy that you're supposed to be being. Turning stages into this continuous expansion of that same hideout you broke into. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus craved to be an open world game so incredibly bad. It practically begged to be one continuous world with as little noticing loading screens as possible. Just from an environmental storytelling point of view, the power and recognition that each person hungered for was loud. Mugshot, the Dogfather, was easily my favorite villain of this game. Within this filthy, almost deserted city laid his hideout. A grand casino paradise with his name and face engraved all over the damn place. Casino signs being the only eye-catching decor while you traverse through the rundown city. A casino with chandeliers shaped like dollar signs and cent symbols. It's exactly like Atlantic City. I enjoyed Sly's first game a bit more than I did the first time around. I mean, the movement is smooth, the controls are pretty damn responsive, and it works well. It works pretty damn well. And yet somehow I don't love it. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, but you could easily tell that this was the first step that they had taken. I mean, once you play the other games within the Sly series, you could definitely tell this was the first. Because when Sly fails to make a jump or utilize his sneaking abilities on uneven objects like stairs, he falls flat on his smirky ass face, I can tell you that. I swear, Sly enjoyed fighting me more than he was fighting the bosses during many points of this game. When you see blue sparkles hovering near an obstacle, that's an indicator that Sly can shimmy, sham, or perch on that obstacle. I press circle, and he does his ninjutsu shit. Except when he says, nah, I don't wanna. Bosses also felt a bit static. The blandness I felt while fighting them chalked up to not really having enough interactivity with the enemies beforehand. The Fiendish 5 did not get nearly enough screen time or dialogue that Sly and the company did. I also mentioned that I loved the variety with the minigames as well, and that is still true. yet the actual execution is a bit rough around the edges. Racing minigames were the most scuffed out of all of them. The cart felt closer to a dropped bar of soap escaping your grasp while you're in the shower, and I had to turn a full second before the corner was approaching because of its Scooby-Doo running ass momentum. Thankfully, there are only like 2 races, so if you hate what you saw with the driving, they're just quick and painful tortures. First-person shooter escort missions were pretty painful too. Unless you have played this game before or have the same kind of situational awareness as the monkey from Toy Story 3, failure will happen more often than not. Adding insult to my short reaction time, I restart the whole stage after every failed attempt. And I am standing still, which is equally annoying as the kart physics. But even with all the problems I had, this was a harmless start for the series. BSE at times? Sure. A lot of my deaths were dumb. I admit that, though many leaned closer to I wasn't quick enough to register where I had to go instead of me being an absolute buffoon that I am. What did sell me the most on this game were the creatures of the SCU. The Sly Cooper universe, the Cooperverse. Do you want a raccoon that constantly breaks the law while proudly wearing a shit-eating grin every step of the way? Do you want a sexy Latina fox to admire that likes to play hard to get with you? You furry? Do you want a bulldog that inspires on becoming the next jacked Scarface of this world? Do you want a kung fu panda? Do you want him to become a village-killing murderer? Skadoosh. All of these characters are imaginative with actual motivational drive. Everyone has their own wacky and distinct personalities to separate themselves from the cast. I don't think all of them landed, but the ones that did matter in this game had the most depth to them and care for them. I also really appreciate the cel-shaded noir approach for this game. I feel like it works well for Cooper. The character models really pop out amongst the bleak tone landscape. The music dynamically changes during gameplay to match the tone of your actions. Attacking adds a sense of alertness with increased loudness and additional layer of instruments, whereas sneaking tones down the instruments to give a sense of safety and hiddenness. There's a rubber band that gets plucked to every footstep you take while sneaking.
Oh, I love this band too.
Sucker Punch had a set vision, and boy, did they craft a work of art. I have no idea how I never played the other games in the series, because honestly, I didn't feel like there was much needed improving upon in this game. It almost came out perfect. Almost. I can't handle these Play-Doh ass mouths though.
Have you come here for revenge? To steal back the Thievius Raccoonus?
That was my plan at first.
Sly 1 may have jostled my jimmies, but it never discouraged me from completing this 100%, mainly due to the game being fairly short. An average normal playthrough is roughly about 4 hours, completion time being roughly 5 to 6 hours, adding about an hour to your playthrough, which is already short enough. Sly Cooper in the Book of Thiefy Steely is a game that really stood out amongst the crowd with its witty stealth mechanics mixed with quick action platforming. This turned out to be the smoothest combo for gameplay I've ever seen performing on the PlayStation 2. I honestly cannot wait to see what's up next for Sly and the gang. I also can't wait to see how I'm inevitably going to hate this game after playing the superior sequels, because let's face it, people regard the sequels as prime PS2 games. I can already tell you without having touched those yet that this game is going to feel outdated and get outperformed real quick. Sly 1 is a pretty satisfying game, and if you ever wanted to try it out, it's on the PS2, or if you really don't feel like booting up old hardware and dusting off that damn thing, you could do it on PS3 for the Sly Collection and play it in HD, have achievements. But if you still want the original PS2 version, in the middle of me making this video, they released the PS2 version, specifically the PS2 version on PS5. You can stream it on PS5, you could buy the original on PS5, you could play it in the Sly Collection on PS3, you could play it on the original PS2. He's also on the PS Vita. God, you could play him anywhere. You could literally take him on the go wherever you feel like too. Sly 1 is pretty much on every PlayStation that's not the first one. I wouldn't say it's my favorite Sly, but it definitely is a very fun game if you really enjoy movement and really enjoy platformers, because this is definitely a combo that works really damn well. When I said I can't wait to play a sequel, I meant it. I'm playing it right now. I'm going to rob a museum as a raccoon, and I swear to God, if there isn't a hot Latina fox waiting for me at the end of this heist, I swear to God, I'm gonna turn Bentley into some goddamn turtle soup, because mama is muy caliente.